Oh my goodness, really weird things going on here this morning. Are you ready, Michael? No, Michael cannot hear us no, he can hear us. He just can't, his microphone isn't working because he has been working on this way for people to call in. Good morning, Earl's daughter. So glad to see you this morning. So he's been working on a way to have people call in. So he wants to make it a call-in show. He's been working on this. He's giggling. He's in the green room. He's giggling. And he's just had the worst time trying to make this work. But I swear, he is bound and determined. He is going to make this happen. And so I think he's working on it right now. So I can't reach him yet. But hopefully Janice Danforth will come on with me. Will she give me
this work?
Oh, there he is. Okay.
I at least got my mic working.
No way. So people can call in?
No, I got to fix that. There's one little stupid cross deal that I can't get to. Everything works except the caller. If they call in, they can't hear what you would say from the podcast. So I have one small little deal that I'm trying to patch in between there. I'm not an audio mixer genius like some people.
Well, I'm telling you, you get the gold star for just working your butt off on this. I mean, my goodness, you have worked so hard to try to make this happen.
Oh.
I mean, bless your heart. I mean, good for you. But you have worked awfully hard. Okay, we're going to get right into it this morning because our friend Janice, we don't want to keep her too long today. So I'm going to bring on Janice. Good morning,
Howdy.
Janice.
Morning.
How are you?
Good. Beautiful day.
Good
Do
morning.
what?
It's a beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day, and we're going to take it as a beautiful day. I'm doing better than I was yesterday, but we'll talk about that at the end of the podcast. At the end of the podcast, I'm going to talk about, well, after we finished talking with Janice, we're gonna do a little Charlie Kirk talk. So we're going to talk a little bit about Charlie Kirk at the as soon as we're finished there.
Yeah. Well, and I have a little piece to add to that, Jenny, when we get to that. For anybody that identifies as a Democrat, I want to give a little Democrat terrorism death cult history of the Democrats.
Well, and I do, but here's the thing that I'm just going to say this, and then we'll get into it after we're finished with Janice. We've got to really quit, because not every Democrat is like that. I mean, and so we've got to watch that, because that's where they want us to be. You're Republican. You're all right wing. Well, I'm not all right wing. There are a lot of things that I don't like about the Republican Party, and the Democrats. I mean, we got to really watch that.
All right, the liberals, the left, the radical left, Jenny. I'll rephrase.
There you go.
I'll rephrase.
Yeah, because Dave was just telling me there's a new term out called Trantifa. So it's these trans people who are in with Antifa. So they're anti-fascist, whatever the heck that means. And they're also trans. And it's these little cults that the Marxists are developing that are the problem, not everybody. And so once they want us to start putting everybody in the same groups, because that's what's going to make it the problem. But we have to resist that and talk to individuals and be individualistic and have conversations with people. And
which is what Charlie Kirk did.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can't do that, then his death is in vain.
Right.
So that's my big message for that. But Janice, so we wanted to talk to you because Superintendent of Bixby School System, who is now retired, Rob Miller, is running for state superintendent.
Right.
And I've asked him to be on. We're still working that out for him to come on. I want him to know that we're going to be fair. I texted and emailed him that again this morning. I mean, I'll go back to the Charlie Kirk thing. If we can't have discussions with people we don't agree with, then there's no point. I mean, we're just exactly where they wanted us to be. So I'm happy for him to come on and talk. That doesn't mean we're going to agree, but he needs to be able to articulate his ideas about what he wants. But that doesn't mean there weren't problems in the school, and you have some things that he needs to respond to. What were some of the issues that you saw with Superintendent Miller?
Well, when I started Moms for Liberty here in Oklahoma, and the first chapter was in Tulsa County. So when you start those, they require you to go to school board meetings before they'll accept you as a leader. So they want you to get engaged. So, so I started going, and we went to the meetings monthly for probably 2 years. I mean, we were very engaged in what was going on. And so, and I know it's unfortunate for him that that's what district I was in. So that was who got it. Had I lived in Union, then it would have been Union. So it wasn't that we were going after him. It was, that's where we, where I lived, or where I live now. And so the books was the first issue. And for people who don't know or can't or don't remember, just as a reminder, what happened there, that was the first issue, which is actually why I started one of the teachers with my son, but also the books. And so I found books in the library and that were inappropriate. And so I filled out a form and they held a big meeting that people came to. They had a whole bunch of people wearing t-shirts that were like, don't, let's read banned books kind of thing, like missing the whole point of the inappropriateness of it. So initially he fought us on the books. They had Bixby fight again. So the assistant superintendent was the one who argued against me. We each had like 15 minutes to talk to the board, and then the board voted.
So the assistant superintendent of Bixby Public Schools argued against you at the meeting?
Correct. This was like a special meeting that they held because I kept protesting because they would say, no, we're not taking them out. So there's like steps to go. And the top step would be to present to the board in a special meeting. So we got all the way to that point. Yes. So it was assistant superintendent versus me. So we each got time. So I spoke, and then she spoke, and then the board was able to ask questions or what have you, which Rob Miller was supposed to sit there quiet. And he saw one of the books, they all voted the same to keep it. The other one, he could see they were starting to, two of them, and they ended up voting to take it out, 2 of the 5, but he didn't want them to. And I know you're familiar with OSSBA, the Oklahoma State School Board Association, which trains the school board members. And one of the things they train them on is to be cohesive, to all agree, to everyone go along. So it looks like, oh, we're a team and everyone's working well together. And Rob had never had them vote no on anything to this point. And so he's very much he wants that. He likes that everyone is getting along, which I get that. I mean, who doesn't? But you also have to put aside your ego in a situation where we're talking about showing inappropriate material to children. And so during that meeting, he started speaking out, and because 2 of them you could see they were going to vote towards what I was saying. And he started speaking. Well, in this meeting, he wasn't supposed to. So I called him out on it. And I said, this is bull. You are supposed to sit there quiet. He's done this multiple times with me in those meetings where he will, if he doesn't like what I said, or he wants the last word, he wants to be able to like correct what I'm saying. And the last board meeting I was at, he did the same thing. And I actually told him he's not allowed to do that. If you look at the rules, he cannot speak. None of them can, including the board. And he's no different. And I told him, you are not allowed to speak back to me. You have to sit there quiet. And the point is that a parent can come speak, and they will then ponder upon what I'm saying. We don't need to have the whole point of that, which I don't necessarily agree. I wish they would interact. And even the board members say they wish they could too, but he would. And so that's the frustrating thing, is it's very much him against the parent if they disagree with him. I had multiple meetings with him to try to work with him on things on the side before it got ugly. And he agreed to go through a process with the books with me. And then he changed his mind and pulled back on that. And then said he was going to put a committee together and they would include a parent. And so I said, well, then let me be on that. Nope. I mean, it was just he was very combative and very resistant to having me be a part of anything. And then the irony of all that is he said that we were grandstanding, right? And when we did open records requests, we found that he was saying that we're grandstanding. And it's like, we're not grandstanding. I asked you we had an idea. We came up with something. He agreed with it. And then he decided not to. Well, I'm not going to just sit back quiet after you're not hearing us. So I'm going to keep being loud because you're not doing what you said you would do. So that was really hurtful when that happened. And actually I went to that meeting by myself where we were supposed to get things rolling. And this was very early on. And I actually cried in the meeting, which was because I was so frustrated. And they pulled the rug out from under me essentially. And that just felt really dirty. And I just felt stabbed. And so at that point, and he'll know, he'll remember, I mean, it was him and the assistant and associate superintendent in that meeting with me. And I'll admit I cried because I was so frustrated, and they wanted, let's talk. And I said, there's nothing I can say, because what I say I'll regret, because I was so angry. So I left, and I was like, okay, if you want to play like that, then I guess that's how we're going to have to do it. So you can't go then telling your board members that I'm grandstanding after you basically pulled the rug from under me with an idea we had both had agreed upon. So that's kind of the start of all of the issues with Miller.
Well, I'm going to read you something just. So like I said, he and I have been going back in emails, and I just want to assure him that I'm being fair. So I'm going to read you what he said.
Okay.
Janice will tell you we moved too slow on her request to remove certain books from our high school library. What she won't say is that she later commended me after a board meeting for taking care of the issue.
I was going to talk about that.
And deliberate actions to review every book in our collections and have zero complaints since her original appeals. She just wanted us to remove the book she requested, but the law and school board policy demanded we follow a process. As I told her, we actually agree on many issues related to our schools. And so that was one of the things that he said. And I thought, well, I'm going to bring that up just because, and hopefully he's not going to get mad that I read his email, but I mean,
no, I was actually going to bring, and that's not fair that he's assuming I wasn't going to bring that up. I actually sent him an email thanking him. And so it's in writing, because I was happy with, this is a long time after that initial issue. I mean, this took, for him to get to that place was probably a good 2 years. Okay. We're not talking months. We're talking a long process. And I had to,
when he said he moved slowly.
Yeah, it was very slowly. And also knowing that was a concern of mine, he never even reached out to me. I figured it out on my own that they were taking him out, because I would just randomly go in and look through the books and online and figure out, okay, I started looking and they're all gone. And so I was like, oh my gosh, they finally did it. So I sent him an email and I said, I see they're all gone. Thank you so much. And he told me he appreciated that I acknowledged it. And he told me that they put together a team, and now they're vetting them as they're coming in. All the things I had suggested finally was implemented. And so I am grateful for that. And I told him he's one of the only districts. So I have to give him credit on this. He's one of the only districts that really followed through on taking them out. He is a rule follower, and that was the rule. And so he will go through that. Now, the Oklahoma Supreme Court, said you can't do that, but he stayed with it. And so I am thankful.
You can't wait. The Supreme Court said you can't do what?
The books issue. They didn't rule in favor with Ryan. Like it had to be the legislation had to be the ones that did it, not Ryan. Like it couldn't be a rule, I think was what they decided.
Okay. Yeah. Cause I can't remember either.
I think that's the case. So then of course, now all these districts are like, here, we're not going to take the books out. So I will give him kudos on that. And I was planning on bringing that part up.
Well, there were some, so the basic, what I'm hearing you say is it didn't start out well.
No.
And you felt completely removed from the process. So,
right.
So I mean the problem here is that if you have somebody who is running a school who seems resistant to parental activity from the outset, that could be problematic.
Correct.
So, I mean, yes, he did follow up and get that done. And yes, we should applaud him for doing that, but let's not start off playing football, and
resist.
Yeah.
Right. And, I mean, he and I, we've had lots of conversations, some of them good, some of them feisty. Like my son likes to say, we're like frenemies, it's like there's things that we agree, or we would get to a good place on, and there are things that were really frustrating. And what I worry about with him, if he was to win this position, is would he, I don't know that he would be willing to stand up. And I've mentioned this publicly too with Ryan. One of the things I think he's doing, the greatest thing he's doing is holding bad players accountable and not backing down, even if there's pressure, which he does get from people that don't want him to follow through, because for whatever reason, a lot of times educators are like in this protected bubble. And if they do something wrong, there's somebody higher up that like tries to help get them out of it. And I don't know if, say, the governor came to Rob, if he was state superintendent, and said, hey, I know this came up and this teacher or this administrator did this or this, but I want you to, get rid of it. I don't know if he would stand up against that, where Brian Walters does. And I think that's one of the most concerning things for me in the schools are the inappropriate situations that are going on. And it's a broad spectrum of things that we're dealing with. And I think those people need to be accountable and held to the fire for what they did. And they're held because they sit in a position of trust with children. I think that they deserve to be held to a higher level, and they're also being paid by tax dollars. So,
well,
and you're not.
I was gonna kind of go down that road with you, Janice, and ask you,
mm-hmm.
like, in your opinion, with your interactions with him and the whole deal with the books, I mean, do you think he just did that to kind of appease you in a way, or did he really see like the moral wrong, that those do not need to be in the hands of kids, and like morally come to that realization? Or is he simply just trying to get you out of his hair and get down the road?
Well, he would tell me that to my face, that he didn't agree with them, but there's First Amendment, the rights, whatever. And I get that. I mean, there's going to be certain things
Those
that are
pesky rights, whatever.
I know, and I would always go back to, this isn't about that. This is about obscenity. And so we don't have to follow the ability for kids to be reading obscene material. It's not book banning. It's saying this isn't appropriate. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So he would favor the side of like, well, it's First Amendment, even though I don't agree with them, the books morally, he would tell me that I lean the other way. And so we would argue on the obscenity piece of it. And he got there. I don't know. I think my personal opinion is where the most pressure comes from is what he will follow, which I guess in reality, the community is what is your factor on your decisions. Same
Right.
with the board. And if your community is putting pressure and the board feels that, then he has to follow suit on that. And so that could be to be fair, that could be why he decided it. But I think, I'm just glad he did. I don't care the reason. But I don't know what his personal intentions were, other than, it could have been pressure. It could have been because he felt like it. I don't know. Probably pressure would be my guess.
Well, and it is, it is important to know that he did do it. I just don't, and we need to talk to him about that. Why push back immediately? Why is that something? Why is that your first? Why is that your first position as a football stiff arm? That I think is the. That's I think the thing that we need to talk to him about, because
and I think too, going back to OSSBA, they play a huge role. And I don't think a lot of people realize that they've not only on the school board member side, but also the administration side with their legal. So they're getting advice. He's getting advice from OSSBA legal. And so, which I think is completely crazy that that's even a thing, that you're having the same group train the board who's supposed to be holding the superintendent accountable, who hires and fires him, but they're also, their legal is advising the administration. It's like, I mean, and people are just like, don't know that, and they don't care. And it just blows my mind that I guess that's where I would always get frustrated. It's like, why this is so obvious to me as an issue, but everyone seems to not care or know, or if they do hear, they're just like, they don't understand or want to understand. They're too busy. I don't know what it is, but I think administrators take advantage of the lack of understanding on the parent side of things. And so when people like me come along, we're just like a thorn in the side of showing the truth, and they don't want all that showing. So
Yeah, and I can't even figure it out. I do an Earl's daughter said, I feel your frustration, Janice. I had the same experience in 2019, was pushed to homeschool out of frustration. And she said, thank God for Rope to bringing these issues to light.
yeah.
And I am glad that, and thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I'm glad that we are able to do that. But I was going to interject a second ago. There are people who are going to watch the podcast and say, well, what are you talking about? Administrators, covering for each other or covering for teachers. And all you'd have to do is say, look at every interview we've ever had with Katie Smith from V1SUT. I mean, she does all the research to show that that's exactly what's happening. So that's not
right. Well, we can even look
It's
at
a
the
thing.
Glenpool situation that's been going on here, where the assistant superintendent was reported, and the superintendent did his own investigation. It was barely anything. It was like 2 pages long. Didn't find any
Wait, the
wrongdoing.
superintendent was
Yeah,
doing his
in
own
own investigation,
investigation?
and that's what they
Oh
do.
my Lord. That can't be
Another
true.
self-investigation.
Another self-investigation, which they should be required to report such incidents. And Bixby had an issue with the high school principal where he was at the dance. I don't know if you remember this,
Yes,
but
I do.
okay.
Yeah.
So we of course went to the
Well,
board meeting.
you bring it up for everybody so everybody who's watching knows what you're talking about, because that was not okay.
No, that was not okay. So the high school principal was at a one of the school dances, and kids were smelling alcohol in his breath, and he was being inappropriate. What they were saying is he was being inappropriate in how he was touching some of the girls. And so of course this became kids with their phones. So there was film and such, and people coming forward, and so it was very public. It was definitely it was not done quietly where they could kind of shove it under the rug. And Rob did handle that. We had a we went to that board meeting to express the frustration that they just allow him to resign. Like situations like that, we feel like they shouldn't be allowed to resign, because it gives them an opportunity then to go work at another district and do the same
That's
thing.
exactly right.
And so me and 2 other moms talked to him for quite a while after that meeting. And he was saying that it's hard on their end because there's so much legal pieces involved. And so I get that. I mean, they can't just do whatever they feel like. I know there's parts in that. And he did say that he will always report to the state when they have situations. And I hope that's true. I don't have proof to know if that's true. I can only take his word on it. He has lied to me, so I don't know if, how much of that I can trust, but I hope that's true. And I would want every superintendent to do that.
Well, you're required by law, period.
Yeah. And but they don't. I mean, unfortunately, then it takes parents. So like in this Glenpool situation, so the Kim Cootie ended up suing the parent for defamation, which just went to court, and the judge agreed to dismiss that. And, that's an intimidation tactic.
It is.
And even Rob Miller is suing Ryan Walters for defamation. And so when you start doing this, where people, now I get that that's different.
Suing Ryan Walters for defamation?
Rob Miller is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah.
No.
Well, because in that interview where Ryan called him a clown and a liar.
Oh, okay.
Which I get that. I mean, that technically is his boss or whatever. I'm not saying they're the same. I'm just saying when you're having these administrators, especially to a parent, to sue them for speaking up, if that case wasn't dismissed, what parent would speak up moving forward? Nobody would, because you would be, so that case set precedent for parents to feel like they can speak out, and bring forward information that's inappropriate and not be protected by the courts or their own district, which is unfortunate. So, but that was a huge, unfortunately it didn't get any attention, and it should, because it's a huge precedent that parents won't feel intimidated to speak up when they see or find some information, if that's inappropriate, on a teacher or an administrator, which obviously this has nothing to do with Rob Miller. I'm just saying in general, it's
well, but I mean,
a worrisome thing.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you're making a point. And then Earl's daughter says, where's the representation of the people when lawyers dictate policy? And I think that's such a, when I was mayor, we had several instances that I'm obviously not going to talk about publicly, but we had several instances of people on the town payroll doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And in speaking with the attorney, it was a frustration to me to realize that I believe that what attorneys are being told today is that do everything you can to avoid a lawsuit.
Right.
So it boils down to, okay, yes, we know he broke the law and I'm an attorney and we need to make sure we're following the law, but now we're just going to make it go away because we don't want this to be happening here.
Right.
But in doing that, you're now setting up another town to be, and one particular employee went to another town and did the same thing. So we know that to be a fact, and maybe even more than one. So we're having the same thing happen in other places in the system than just in public education, but we're definitely having it in public education.
Right. For sure.
You have to say, no, this person broke the law, end of discussion,
right.
Not just go, oh, sorry.
Get right. Right. Yeah. Go away. Don't bother us. And
it's not don't bother us. It's go on ahead. Don't sue us. Just go ahead. Right. And you're like, no, bull. I cried BS on that. That is, I completely 100% get you on that. And then she also said, where are all the conservative attorneys to take on this battle? And my question to you, Earl's daughter, would be, have you heard anything about law school today? Even the constitutional courses are run by people who don't believe in the Constitution. So it's the screwed up law schools that are the problem, just like the screwed up colleges, just like the screwed up universities, just like the screwed up public. I mean, it's there are so many fingers pointing at blame. There aren't enough fingers. So, well, let's talk about one other thing too. There was an IEP issue that Rob even brought up in his email to me. What was the deal there?
I don't know.
And that's true. Dana says law school is designed to work against the people and protect the courts. And I completely agree with that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately. That case, I mean, I know a little bit about it. I don't know enough to probably talk too much about it, but there were students, or several students that were Down syndrome, and that they were excluding them from general population, and they were able to function with general population. And so they were, it's just that lack of inclusivity, but there's more going on with that. And so I don't know enough, and I would rather the mom at some point when she's ready to come talk to you about that.
Sure. I think that's completely appropriate. And we can always talk to Rob himself if he'll, if he'll come on.
I know they did talk to public radio. There was an interview out there about that with the mom, couple moms. And they also did an interim study on inclusivity with Waldron last fall. So inclusivity really? In the sense of this, not in the DEI sense.
Got you. Okay.
In the special needs kids, if they're able to function, not like the extreme, obviously, where they, they can't be in there, but the ones that are, and a lot of Down syndrome kids are. And so they want them to be in that. And so that they're gaining that social piece.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Correct. Well, kind of in closing up, just kind of give me your general thoughts on, what your perceptions are about, what do you think about Rob Miller as state superintendent? And I'll ask him to, come on and refute anything that you say,
sure,
but
but
here's the thing. But I mean, if he will, but here's the thing, you're a parent in that system and you
Right.
have had to deal with him, and he is running for state superintendent.
Right.
And he has to understand that people are going to have reasons for not voting for him. And it's perfectly legitimate to ask somebody who's been in the school system their opinion about his candidacy. So sure. I think that's completely legitimate. So let's close out by, just tell me what you think. Give me your overall.
Overall, it concerns me. I'm not going to lie. There's certain things about him that I think he'll do good at. He does care about the academic, excelling in that. And I know he will focus on that. I don't see, there could be way worse. I will say that there's certain people I would just be like, oh, goodness sakes, that it will be all DEI type focus. And I don't believe that of him. My concern mostly with him, I guess, will be the parent side. Seeing how he knowing how he treated me, how I saw him treating other parents, the concerns we all had and brought forward, which then equal grandstanding. And they were simply things like bullying, inappropriate books. There was a rat issue. So one parent, or mice, not rats, sorry, mice issues in one of the school. So these are not things that are like, oh, they're just wanting to complain. These are like legitimate concerns. And so, I mean, we see what Ryan Walters deals with on a monthly basis, where they have open comment, public comment. Yeah. The same will be for Rob Miller. And that would be one thing I would suggest for him. And I think he and I have can have decent conversations. I would even talk with him. I mean, I'm not against that either, is that he needs to be willing to not take it personally. I guess I feel like that's a lot of the times it was taken personally, rather than as, we want to make things better and we want to work with you. I even said that in one of the very first meetings we had. I'm not here to work against you. I want to work with you guys. Like, here's some things we're seeing as parents and we want to bring them up, but it became like us against them thing. And that's unfortunate, because we're the troops on the ground. We're seeing all the things that he can't see. He can't be in every school, in every classroom.
That's an excellent point.
But we are there as parents and we're paying attention. And so the respect needs to be there to say, I hear what you're saying. Let's look more into it, rather than stiff arming and getting frustrated and not wanting to hear what we have to say and assuming we're doing grandstanding or just wanting to complain. That's not the case at all. My voice has never been there to complain. It's to make change, which happened because the books, I was the one who brought that forward in the state, and it changed. And so it's not small things. These are big things. And so that's my one concern with him, is that he will do what he's told to do by those who maybe he becomes intimidated by or feeling pressure from, and rather than doing what the parents are telling him, the boots on the ground are telling him. And so that would be my main concern with him, if I'm being honest.
Adam Hawley said even the LGBT issues with the after school PRISM program out of his band dream. You'll have to suss that out a bit. Did you know about that?
Yeah, that there was a PRISM LGBT group, and they were meeting in after school with one of the teachers, and it was a place where they could come have their safe space or whatever.
Okay.
But we were feeling like concerned that you're having these kids going and talking to an adult that's not their parent, again, taking the parent
Yeah.
out of this piece, right? And so that was another issue that we brought up. That was brought up during as one of the other concerns, which he did deal with that. And I think they ended up not allowing that eventually. But again, it's that pressure piece. If there's enough pressure, he'll change it. If there's not, then I think he tries to scuttle,
Well,
kind
but
of
I mean, we
quiet
do
it up.
have to give him that then. I
Yeah,
mean,
I do.
it,
Yeah. If
it,
there's pressure, he'll do
it
the right thing. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I know that we all hate to do that because you want to elect somebody that you believe is going to have your same values and is going to want to do the same things that you want them to do. But unfortunately anymore, I just don't see that happening if we don't stay engaged.
Right.
I mean, truly. Even the really, really great people that we like out there, the new ones that we've gotten elected, they're going to make mistakes sometimes. And if
Right.
we're not there to say, hey, let's not do that one again. Okay.
Right. Right.
Then
But
we're in trouble. I mean,
right.
we've got to stay engaged. But then Adam comes back and he says, if it takes pressure to do the right thing, then I'm worried where is
Yeah.
his integrity. And I
Yeah.
think that's a
Right.
fair
Well,
point.
and I
Yeah.
agree. And just to give Rob a little prep, if he comes on the show, I'd like to see him, Janice, just show us examples of very good moral decisions that he made and along,
Yeah.
whatever all these lines are, that by himself without being pressured by someone,
Right.
where he identified something in the school or in the district or whatever and said, hey, I don't think that's really a good idea. Well, let's go the other direction. I'd like to just see him, give us some examples of those things that he himself organically, saw that and made the decision.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. And I
Well,
hope
and
he comes on.
yeah,
He needs to be able to speak with people who don't surround him in support. And that's one thing that we would see is that when we would speak, eventually when we would speak there, they started having people say how great everything was at Bixby to speak to counter what we were saying. And it's like,
yeah,
okay, that's not the point here. Like, fine, but come on. You don't have to surround yourself only with people that protect you. You can go talk to people who don't agree with you, and you should want to. Like,
yeah,
he should want to come on here and
yeah,
answer some hard questions.
yeah.
Will he? I don't know. I hope so. I hope he does, because he's going to need to be able to do that as state superintendent. So he's not going to have everybody liking him. It's not going to be the same as Bixby, where he's kind of put on a pedestal. Y-
Well, but
He's now going to have
it's
to answer to the whole state. So,
It's interesting, exactly. And it's interesting that you say that because my argument has always been we don't vet people well enough. What we do is we just go, oh gosh, you seem like a really nice person.
right.
And, I think we're going to get along great. Will you listen to me now? Well, of course I'll listen to you now. Great. Then I'll vote for you. Cha-ching.
Yeah.
That's not vetting.
Yeah. Right.
It's simply not a vetting. It's you having a conversation with somebody that's just telling you everything you want to hear. So,
Right.
I agree. If he really wants the job, he's going to come on and answer the tough questions.
Right. And he should
So,
be okay to do that. I don't
mhm.
see why it would be that hard, because I know you would be fair with him. You're going to ask him hard questions, but you're also going to be willing to talk to him about the good things he's doing. And there are successes. So
Yeah,
the Bixby does love him as a whole. The district does like him, and he's likable.
he is.
He has that charm to him that if until you have an issue with him, you think, oh, this is. I remember when we moved here and he was chosen and he was a Marine. I was so excited. I thought, oh my gosh, this is so great. He's a Marine. He's going to be love America, which he does. I'm not saying he
Yeah,
doesn't,
he
but
does.
it was when I guess I assumed, and that's my fault, assuming makes an ass out of you and me, but that he would be more aligned and want to work with us rather than battle. But I don't know on his end what was all being told to him. I'm sure initially when he was going to be willing to work with me on the books thing, the lawyers are probably the ones that told him not to do it.
Yeah.
I would bet money on that. I don't know, but that's my guess based on other things I've seen and some of the open records requests. I get that vibe that because he did speak with John Pretty, which they wanted to move public comment, and he wanted to move public comment, and so he reached out to him, who's with OSSBA legal, and they wanted us not to be speaking when there were people there, which was also unfortunate. He doesn't want people to hear. Yeah, they moved public comment because how it used to be, what it was at first, they always do like a say the football team did good or the band or whatever, they have those kids come in and they give them like a coin or whatever.
Right.
And so it used to be public comment and then that. Well, then these people were hearing us speak and they didn't want that. So initially they wanted to move it to the end of the whole meeting.
Where everybody's gone.
Where everybody's gone and nobody's there. And one board member in particular was like, this is no. And so they didn't. They just waited until after that initial congratulatory piece, then we would speak. And that was one thing that we brought forward with the media when we found that in the open records request. That was really disappointing to see him talk about us. He specifically said, this is perfectly acceptable to do, yet I can imagine it would irritate some of our recent commenters. As we've learned, these folks are not really interested in working together to seek understanding or solutions. They just want a grandstand. And that was really hard to read because I specifically asked him early on and told him that I did want to work together.
Yeah.
And I would always want to work with anybody. My goal is not to be like, haha, got you. It's what's best for the kids and let's get that, and I'm very conservative. And so I'm going to fight for things that I know are not good for kids in public school to be influenced by. So.
And I tend to agree with Connie. It does become par for the course in any government body. They just it's like they become such an echo chamber of themselves that you become the problem.
Right.
And if you're not going to allow people to speak, you're never going to leave that echo chamber. And it's like, that's where they want to be, is in the echo chamber. And I just think that's not why you were elected.
Right. And that's what's funny. And with Moms for Liberty, I mean, they'll say that we're like in an echo chamber. Oh my gosh, hardly. Do you know how many mean and nasty and different opinions I was told or read or emailed, and I would just be like, okay. And some people have good points, and then you have to go think about it. Even my older son he would be like, well, what about this? And he, I think it's great that you can have someone who has a different opinion than you. Maybe not the extreme ones who are cursing you. I'm not interested in those people, but if you're willing to sit down and have a conversation and we don't agree, you should be able to respectfully have that conversation. And I think Rob and I have had several of those where we've had good ones. We've had not some good ones. And he's made me mad a few times. But that would probably be the case with most people. But those are my main concerns. And I just hope he's willing to include parents and realize the importance of the parent voice on those who don't agree with what he's doing, that their intentions are not ill. That would be my hope.
Well, and I really appreciate you coming on and talking about it, because it is extremely important that we're not just hearing from the candidate themselves, but we're also hearing from a parent, who is an involved parent. Yeah. With experience.
A lot of experience down the road with actual instances happening in and around the district that he was operating.
Right. And Dana says, people have to look past the charm, follow the money. Do they use lawfare to intimidate or silence opponents or parents? His lack of supporting parents when they disagree will be a huge factor in the 2026 election. So I do think that is something that he's going to have to answer. And I
Right.
want him to come on and answer it.
I hope he
mean,
will.
how are you going? Is this going to change? How are you? I mean, Earl's daughter says, I don't want to pretend I know what's going on in his head, but sounds like he didn't want to work with people. He wanted compromise. There are too many
Yeah.
issues we can't compromise on these days. And for all of us here, one of them is feeding children stuff that's going to ruin their brains, that they're not developmentally ready for yet. And that has to do with all the crap going on in the library. So, thank you for fighting that fight on behalf of parents. And
Yeah.
I'll keep you in the loop. And
Yeah.
hopefully, he will come on and we'll be able to have a chance to talk about these things with them. So
Yeah, I hope so.
only the fair thing to do. Well, Janice, thank you so much for being on with
Yeah,
us today, and keep in touch, and
For
hope we get
sure.
to talk sooner than later.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you
All right, have
guys.
a beautiful day. Thanks
You
again.
too.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So love having Janice on, and I do think and I want to go back to a couple of things, but just here in a second.
Well, I just want to say, Jenny, when it comes to our education system here in Oklahoma, it's, in my opinion, it's literally controlled by two things. It's controlled by the OSSBA,
Yeah.
and it's controlled by that legal system of the one of two legal firms that represents every single one of these schools.
Yeah.
The combination of those two together control the entire education system in Oklahoma, because they're the ones training. And then on top of it, they're the ones giving all of the legal BS advice. Oh, you can't do this. I guarantee you there's a ton of good superintendents out there. There's a ton of good teachers out there. There's a ton of good school board members that are completely shut down, whether first through the OSSBA or the pressure that they're going to receive from the other organizations like COSA and whoever, but from the legal advice that they're getting from these one of two very corrupt legal entities that's advising all these, that's in our entire education system.
Correct. I mean, that's correct. And we're going to have a state superintendent who can rise against that. And there are, I mean, I'll be frank, I get crosswise with a lot of people because, Ryan Walters has not been on my list of, attaboys. There are some good things that he's done, but for me personally, he spent more time creating drama than he has actually getting anything done. And I don't think, and I'm not a fan of that particular method. So,
well, but did he, I mean, not to just completely always back Ryan, but was that necessary? I mean, it was necessary in some capacity to get, to get down the road. Maybe sometimes you have to do that stuff in order to open the doors for, someone else, if you don't have time to do it. I'm not saying he didn't do anything or whatever, or he did all this great stuff, but I mean, sometimes you have to have that initial person, break all the walls down and cause all that drama, raise all the questions, and have, be the bad guy in one way or another to expose a lot of things. I mean, I think Ryan was a very necessary evil, and when it comes to that job over there, he had, he received a ton of hatred, and he was a whipping boy, but I think it was necessary. I mean, he had to do it, in my opinion. He couldn't go.
Well, and I can
go in there and just be nice guy and say, yeah, I think we ought to do this. Or, I mean, I think he had to break the door down.
Well, and I see some
in a dramatic fashion.
And I see some of what you're saying. I really do. I mean, I honestly, and it's been so funny in a way to watch the screamy left, go, stop doing that. And they're the ones that started it in the first place. They just don't like somebody else doing the same thing they're doing back to them. And it is kind of amusing, and watching that has been kind of amusing. You've seen I think the one thing that having Ryan Walters really did in stark reality is show exactly who's running public education in Oklahoma. I mean, he certainly got the rats running off that ship. And you knew who they were. So I do appreciate that about him. I just wish we'd gotten more done, and it hadn't been, quite so much.
Maybe not as effective as, or maybe.
No, and he cut off so much of the grassroots. I mean, he would never talk to me. I mean, he never. We asked him to come on the show, I don't know how many times, and he never would bother. I mean, when you start playing, I'm going to talk to you, but I'm not going to talk to you, and when I really need to be on a bigger show, and so I'm going on Fox. I mean, I don't have any respect or time for any of that, because Fox, the people around the nation didn't elect you. We did here in Oklahoma. And if you don't want to talk to Oklahoma people, then, got a small problem with you. So I do want to bring this up because Adam Hawley again said several years ago, I spoke with Rob directly about the prison program, and he completely condoned and agreed with having the problem due to a 1984 Supreme Court case that the GSA perverted interpretation was allowed to stay in the school when Oklahoma State Statute Title 21 clearly states that anyone under the age of 18 as a minor, and what inappropriate materials should be considered that would have required the program and materials off school grounds. I think what he was trying to say was, Rob allowed the program because of a Supreme Court ruling that overruled what Title 21 of the state law said, and we really have to quit doing that. I mean, that's federalism. We're states, we're 50 independent states. We can do what we want, and the federal government can't tell us what to do. That was the whole point of the Constitution. So I do see that, and if the parents had said, hey, we don't want that. So, okay. All right. We got it then. So that is, kind of another issue that we, probably do need to chat with him about. So we should do that. I do want to go back. Earl's daughter made a couple of, when we were talking originally, he said, Michael, for what it's worth, I had to sit my elderly Democrat parents down a few years ago and inform them that their party is not what they think. They were actually shocked. And Dad registered as a Republican. People need to hear the truth. So
just to clarify my statement about Democrats, I'm not talking about the Democrats who were the 1960s JFK, good-hearted, good people, humanitarian, fight for your rights, fight for your death, fight to the death to, give you your rights, free speech, not those Democrats. And I know that there's still a large sect of people out there that want to associate with that term of Democrat, but the current day Democrats are not those people. They're more and more radicalized left. They support the radicalized left of everything. And I mean, if someone wants to stay a Democrat, that's fine. Are they calling out all of these crazy radical left things that are literally the antithesis of their party? What they were when they became a Democrat? I mean, if you're not calling it out, and maybe you don't know, like Earl's daughter said, maybe their parents don't even know, but just to blindly say in today's time, and I'm not saying the Republicans are great, they're just as corrupt.
Yeah.
Just because you got an R by your name. I mean, I'm a Christian, a moral Christian conservative. I want the government to go from this down to this. I mean, that's what I want. I want them to get out of our way, let us live our lives, protect our freedom, protect our border, protect our culture, and get out of our way. That's their job. But we can. I made a whole list of things we can run through whenever. But go ahead and.
Oh, well, I mean, I just thought we'd spend a little bit of time talking about Charlie Kirk, because I pulled up some articles that I thought it might be interesting to go over. So I'm going to start with this one because I feel like this one is a good one to start with. This was an Oklahoman article, and the Oklahoma article is basically says people are scared. Several Oklahoma college students decry shooting of Charlie Kirk. And I want to point this out. Let's look at the headline. People are scared. So what is that? What is that telling you? That you need to be scared.
Yeah,
right?
they're inciting fear already. They're just invoking that.
Correct. You should be scared. This is what the article, this is written by Alexia Aston and Jesse Christopher Smith of the Oklahoma.
I gotta sell something real quick. I'll be right back.
All right. So there are people. So it says people are scared. Several Oklahoma college students decry shooting. So let's break it down. They want you to be scared, and they want you to believe that it was just a handful of people, just a smattering of people on college campuses that were upset about the death of Charlie Kirk. So to their credit, Alexa's and Jesse's, when you go down through the article, they do a pretty good job. And they did say Charlie Kirk, the firebrand conservative activist. I think that's fair. I mean, I've seen him labeled as far right. I've seen him labeled as a lot of kind of things. But then it says the death of the right-wing influencer. So they start up here calling him a firebrand conservative activist. But in the next one, he's a right-wing influencer. So now they want you to believe that he could be a fascist. He could be, oh goodness, he's right-wing. You got to watch what the drive-by media, and I was going to say something else, says. For some students carried an extra weight. This 21-year-old said, people are scared. Charlie stood up for his faith, and there's nothing more important than that. But I want to go all the way down because they do talk about, and they did, get some good comments in here. They asked the people around, but it looks like there were a lot more than several there. The last, and they did do a nice job. I will say that they did do a nice job getting quotes and putting them in here. And it did say this. This was the guy, Caleb Magana, who was the president of the OU chapter for Turning Point USA, said he was in disbelief when he heard Kirk was killed. Magana, who said he had met and gotten to know Kirk personally, remembered him as a respectful and caring person who was passionate about his beliefs, his Christian faith, and his family. And Magana goes on to say, I guess the only way to really move on from this is for us patriots, for us as youth, to carry on what Charlie Kirk would have wanted us to do. Right now, he would want us to continue on fighting for our country, doing what's right, speaking the word of God to ensure that our country lives on. And so I wanted to go back to that because at the beginning, they say, oh, well, people are scared. But then at the bottom, they put in this quote, basically, that the only way to move forward is to continue on his legacy and do what he was supposed to do what he wanted to do. So that was something. Then I'm going to go to, let's go to this one. All right. Watch. Vile leftist chants, "We got Charlie in the neck" in wake of Turning Point USA founder's assassination. So if you go down here and they may have taken it off by now. I don't know if they've taken it off. We'll have to see.
Well, they shouldn't take it off.
No, here it is.
We got Charlie in the neck. Who's up next? We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. Who's up next? We got Charlie in the neck.
Okay, so I want to point out that particular thing because I find it absolutely just what you were talking about earlier, Michael. There is a segment of people in this country today that are completely emotionally ruined. And I do blame, certainly, I blame this. I blame screens. And I can tell you why. I've actually had my kids tell me this, and I've seen it myself personally. If you get on Instagram, for example, and you like something, or you stop this is the worst one. You stop just a minute and you watch it, suddenly your stream becomes flooded with the same crap. So my youngest one told me one day that he had been on Instagram and in his feed was a literal video of a guy getting hit by a bus. And he was riding his bike on the street and the bus just hit him. And he said it stunned him. So he sat there for a second. He was like, what am I seeing? Why is this in my feed? The next thing he knew, every time he turned on Instagram, he was getting some kind of a kill video, somebody getting killed. That's sick. That's sick. And I think all these stupid social media people should be somehow taken down for doing that. Because what you're doing is you're ruining people's brains. You're making this little kid think it's okay to scream, "We got Charlie," and then that's okay. Because what you're doing is you're feeding these kids, whether they want it or not, this crap in their feeds. And I do believe that at some point we're going to have to start suing Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all these BS places who do this stuff out of these algorithms to shove it down these kids' throats so that's what they see. Because when they see it, they think it's okay. Well, I see it. It's in my feed. I'm seeing 20 of these. It must be okay to watch people get killed. Yeah. I see it on my video games all the time. All I have to do is point my gun at somebody and just do this. And blood sprays everywhere and I get to watch it. This is all okay.
And in the, the other side, what they're always going to say is freedom of speech, but it's total BS because they're inciting violence. Maybe not, they're not inciting it, Jenny. They're promoting it through their algorithm and their technology. Their users, whoever the content creator themselves are, they're the ones inciting the violence, but the company itself is an accomplice in the incitement and where and the concentration of where and how that goes to them. You remember that text message I sent you right after Charlie, and I said, literally, I hope they get his phone, all his hard drives, and they go backwards and see all of the social media the guy was on, doing, who he was watching, listening to, the media, the national media, whoever. They need to go backwards and start holding these people accountable, second degree murder, whatever, accessory after the fact, whatever, that all needs to come into play at some point, because you can't go into a movie theater and yell fire. I mean, you can't do it. And that's exactly what they're doing. And they're using the free speech excuse, just like with all these library books, the same free speech excuse. Just because you have free speech and you can write a library book, you can write a book for a kid, doesn't mean your school makes it mandatory that you have to read that book or put that book in there. Those two are two completely different things. Just because I write something doesn't mean you have to have it in here. So that's where the whole moral thing falls, in my opinion, is they're not burning those books or anything. You're deciding what is the best possible literature for your students at your school. And this book makes the grade, this book doesn't make the grade. That's not censorship. That's not that's not crushing free speech. No one's saying, hey, take this book and completely eradicate it from the world. No one's saying that. So when they use all the free speech, like when Janice was talking about Rob, oh, well, there's free speech. That's that's the biggest cop-out BS lie ever. A total lie. And when I talk to people about that, when I was running, and you know, like I said the other day with the teachers, oh, they see the exact same thing on their phone. Well, I'm not sending my kids to school so they can look at a phone all day. I'm sending them to school so they can get exposed to something that they've never seen before, like real literature, real art, you know, whatever it may be. You know, and they never have an answer for that ever.
So I'm going to get to some of these comments because there's so many that are good. Death by 1,000 word salads laced with glass. I love that. I pray our youth don't consume the fear. But here's the problem, Earl's daughter. I have young people and they were very affected by what happened. I haven't talked to my oldest son yet, but I have talked to the other kids and they were very affected by what happened. I mean, one of them got a panic attack the other day. The other one came in and cried, you know, and was very upset because they kept seeing the picture of him on the internet and it just really, really upset him. And that's why I'm saying these screens, these horrible pieces of soulless crap are what's causing so much of this, because you've got this kid out here singing, "We Got Charlie in the Neck." Like it's okay, like it's funny, like that's something that he should be doing because it's just what we do. It's absolutely ridiculous. She also goes on to say, and this is true. This is true. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God hath not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." But so many are not like that anymore. If we understand the art of war, there are also outside influences that are trying to cause a civil war. AI and other
100%.
social media influencers may very well be pushing a lot of these inflammatory posts. And Adam, I think you're over the target 100%, because why do you think there are bots on X, even though, you know, they're supposed to be gotten rid of? There are still bots all over the internet, and they're programmed to push this stuff to make you pissed off, to make you upset, to hurt you, to give you a panic attack. This is what we've got to stop. We have to make it stop. And look at public schools, guys. Where are your kids most of the day? In these schools. What are they on? This thing. I don't care if it's a phone. They're on some kind of a screen every day because we don't believe teachers can teach.
Well, and just to before you hit this next comment, just to talk on that public school piece for just a second, Jenny, because I was thinking about this earlier when you were talking about how damaging that phone is, and we know how it is. I mean, it literally killed the formality of the United States, and I can tell you about that after, you know, later on in the podcast. But when you think about it, if our kids were properly educated, you know, to be intelligent beings, not to be little automatons, but to be critical thinking, intelligent beings, to where they learn from K through 12 all the aspects of the Constitution and their liberty and things like that. And they actually learn how to read, how to write, you know, where it's an actual academic, a complete academic education from the time they're 6 years old until they're 18 or 20. You know, if they learn that from those days, they would have the discernment when it comes to that screen, rather than just being the blind, obedient slave to everything that it says and does. You know, as soon as and I told you I was going to write that book called Ring, Ding, or Vibrate, How We Lost Our Humanity. I mean, I need to do it. I just don't have time to do it. But it's so true. It's so true. Like as soon as that phone tells you, you know, gives you a notification or whatever, or, you know, whatever, I mean, you have to answer it. I hate that. I absolutely hate it. Well, but if our kids had a proper education from the beginning, we wouldn't be in this situation, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and let's go to this next one. Sorry, next comment. My son says someone had hacked Instagram, made it to where everyone's algorithm was targeting those types of videos. And I wouldn't put it past anybody.
I wouldn't doubt
that. Imagine being the family member of a slaughtered loved one and having the entire world see it 100,000 times over and over again. And again, Adam's right over the target. They are doing this to provoke a response. Now, this stupid little skinny kid who was doing that, he's not doing it to provoke a response. He's doing it because he feels he can do whatever he wants. He can do whatever he wants. And he's been told Charlie Kirk bad, stupid people have traditional values. That's what he's been told. So he feels completely justified in doing that because social media and public schools have made him the person that he is. Lisa, comment again on what you just said. You can't, wait, misgendering someone is considered violence, but celebrating violence is free speech. Oh, hell no. And I agree with that. We can't legislate morality, but we can legislate what we will accept publicly as a society. And I'm going to go a step further and say we can legislate these social media companies to not incite violence.
Yeah, 100%.
We could do that. We absolutely could do that. If you're going to put out snuff films, and you're going to put out videos of people getting killed, you go bye-bye. You're done. You're finished. We should absolutely be standing up and saying, I don't give a rat's ass about your free speech. If you want to put up a video about somebody getting killed, that's not going to do anybody's mental health any good.
Yeah. You know where
that's free speech. It's absolutely hurting people's mental health, period.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of the plan. I mean, that's obviously part of the plan. But Jenny, I mean, as a legislator, you want to actually get something done and hurt these or force these companies to abide by the law. You hammer them like $1 million, $10 million, $50 million, an instance, a post, a whatever, and you make them pay. You want to collect money for the government. That's how you do it. You collect it from these
absolutely. And I don't care if they're a free enterprise or not. And that's it. We need to go back to saying, I don't care about free enterprise. If you're an actual company that is trying to hurt people, you shouldn't be in business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Adam says in 2010, when the Supreme Court made a bad unconstitutional ruling of Citizens United versus FEC stating businesses have a First Amendment right, which opened the door of no accountability to what's produced. And that's true. Social media is a damn cancer. It's a cancer. I mean, you and I are grown adult people who were properly educated and have educated ourselves, and we understand when we see that stuff, we know how to deal with it. I mean, we can do it.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Young people don't have that ability yet. That's why we scream about the books. They don't have the ability to compartmentalize that stuff. They don't have the ability to make that make sense in their head. So they do what my kids have been doing, having panic attacks and crying. I mean, because and they're adults, so I can't say, give me your phone. I did that when they were kids. Give me your phone. We're done with that. Give me your computer. Because I've told you 100 times on this show, my kids had a general cell phone that had to be kept in the kitchen until they were 16 years of age. We only had one cell phone. It had to be kept in the kitchen. You could text your friends, but if it left the kitchen, you got your butt warmed. They didn't get any kind of, the biggest thing, what was the most exciting thing for my kids when they were 18? They got to have a TV in their room. I'm not kidding. My son, he actually saved for this ginormous television. It's like, I'm 18, I get to have a TV. I mean, that's how, because they weren't allowed to keep their cell phones in their rooms at night until they were 18. None of that happened. I mean, that was the way we worked things. That's why my kids are probably having panic attacks, because they're like, I didn't grow up with this stuff. This is crazy. Well, where are parents doing that for their children?
Yeah. Well, and don't forget about this, Jenny, since we're on that social media side. You have to remember a couple podcasts ago, I was talking about the venture capital arm of the CIA, which is a company called InQtel. Okay. InQtel put in, they were the seed money behind Facebook, Google, Twitter, all of it. InQtel, our own CIA, is the one that helped develop the technology and funded it, identified it, funded it, and put it and has it out there for the purposes of controlling the population, surveillance, all of it. All of it goes back to our own, untouchable agencies that are completely unaccountable to us. But I mean, that's not even like myth. You could just go type that in. You can see the seed funding that In-Q-Tel gave all these companies in the beginning.
Well, I mean, look at MK Ultra. There is absolutely no question that actually happened. What's to say that this person who shot Charlie Kirk wasn't MK Ultra?
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, because I'm telling you, that was a professional hit. That was absolutely professional. It was not somebody going screaming and going bang. It wasn't that. It was a professional hit.
In my opinion, that guy was, he's a crazy, unhinged person, but probably because Charlie is he's so out there publicly, one of these groups, one of these organizations, someone identified this young man as being fanatical. And then they got with him, started grooming him, buddied up to him, say, hey, and started training the kid, probably, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Started grooming him, training him, teaching him how to shoot, maybe knew how to shoot. But they made, I believe in my own, in my experience, they probably identified this kid, groomed him, and put him in the position to do that. Now he's going to go down for it. But I think that kid was completely developed in one way or another.
But I'm not sure it's a boy. I'm not sure it's a boy. So I think we need to hang on with that. My son's also 15. We had to cry it out every day. We had to talk about it. It's soul crushing. We're into the word to keep us grounded. Lisa says, write the book, Michael. We're all Pavlovian dogs at this point, which is a fact. Shooters mostly, and then she says what you said, shooters most likely a pawn disposable hired by someone in power who doesn't want our kids educated by Charlie. Our mental health is being destroyed is the plan, Jenny. Notice how often the phrase mental health is used today to excuse horrific behavior. You know, Lisa, we'll go all the way back, and I don't want to do this because we've got a bunch of stuff I want to show on this program today. We can go all the way back to watching what Europe does, and then we fall into we fought a war to get away from Europe, and we do everything Europe does. Europe let all the people out of their mental facilities back in I believe it was the 60s, because they said, well, it's unfair to keep people who are mentally ill locked away, and that doesn't do anything for their mental health. They need to be out in society. That's exactly what happened. Go look it up. I'm not BSing you. It's what happened. What did we do here? You have to be absolutely murderous to get into any kind of a mental health facility. We won't put any money in them. We won't do anything like that. And the reason why is because they know it ruins society to have mentally ill people running around in the population and to generate mentally ill people. Yeah. They know, the Marxists, they know. That's what all of this is about. It's so... there's a lot of blame that needs to be put on parents. They give the kid devices. That's just what we talked about. Absolutely. So they don't have to deal with their own children. It's no parenting by parents. And it's actually permissive parenting, which is almost worse, I think. Just got a haircut last week by a 30-year-old lady in Sand Springs. While talking with her, she slipped out the quiet part on what she was taught. Her thoughts: communism is better than capitalism if we're able to get a good leader, not Trump. He's horrible. So I want to go through this one just really fast. This is a Breitbart one. DC Comics.
I wish Adam would have just, after she said that, I wish Adam would have just got his hair cut and then just walked out. And then when she came to say, hey, that's $25, say, well, you're just doing your part for society, and then just walk out on her. That's your contribution to society. You cut my hair. Thank you. That's it.
That's pretty good. So here is his name. He's changed his name. His name is Gretchen Felker Martin is who he's become. This is a transgender DC Comics writer. Celebrated Charlie Kirk's death. And was originally famous for calling the slitting of J.K. Rowling's throat and cheered for 9/11.
Oh, yeah.
So this is this guy. Now, I'm shocked that they actually fired the guy, because usually they just pat him on the head and go, oh, get out there and get to it. But no, they actually got rid of him. And he actually wrote, thoughts and prayers, you Nazi bitch. This is what he said. So I want to go here. Hope the bullet's okay. Here are the demonic reactions from leftists to Charlie Kirk's assassination. And this Charlie Kirk got in a debate with a gun and lost. This is one of the ones my daughter played an Instagram video, no, TikTok video of a girl that she was homeschooled with, who is now a public school teacher, talking about how, well, he was the one, he deserved it because he was the one that talked about gun control all the time. And here he is. He's been. So now she's a public school teacher. She didn't get this from homeschool, but now she's a public school teacher. Laugh out loud. Someone shot Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk being shot is exactly what Charlie Kirk wanted to happen. May Charlie Kirk get just as much support as he has advocated for gun violence to receive, for gun violence victims to receive. I wish the bullet that hit Charlie Kirk a very pleasant day. Well, they actually murked Charlie Kirk, Charlie Murk. Laugh out loud, laugh out loud. They shot Charlie Kirk. And then, of course, they have this picture of, and it says, the board behind Harvey reading kill. I mean, that's not just crazy. That's legitimately sick. I mean, that's legitimately sick. And here's the bottom line. There was a survey that was done recently by a group, and I think I'm going to show the tab here in a second. It's one that we need to kind of watch out for. It's called NCRI Reports, and I'll read that. But NCRI and its partners report on hostile ideologies to promote honest discussion on deception and hate, especially online. So they're one we need to follow and kind of keep out for. They're doing a lot of data. What they're doing is they're taking data off of websites and collecting it and putting it out in the public sphere, because most people don't have time to go through all the social media. These people are actually doing it and saying, I don't think you understand what's going on out here. These are all the posts where Charlie Kirk they celebrated his death. And people look at that and go, nah, are you kidding? That's really happening. So I love the fact that this group is doing it. And one of their surveys was, now get this, 55% of self-identified leftists say killing Trump is justifiable. I'm telling you, there is a segment of the population, and I believe they are completely Marxist. They just don't, and they follow a completely Marxist ideology. They just don't know what that means. There's a segment of the population who legitimately does not believe in the sanctity of human life at all, period. They just don't care. They're here. They're not here. It doesn't matter to them. That's why so many of these people are willing to kill other people and then kill themselves, because they don't care. I mean, they have no belief in the sanctity of human life. They just legitimately don't care if anybody lives or dies. They've been raised on video games where they see people's heads coming apart all the time. They've been on social media where, as I mentioned, you see one thing and the algorithm keeps pulling in the same things over and over again, and they become a death cult. They don't care about anything.
Satanic death cult, I would say, Jenny. But also on top of that, not just those couple little things, that you said between social media and the other things, but also we have to come to a realization in this country that there's a massive chemical and maybe even electromagnetic assault on people. I mean, it's the first time ever. I mean, think about it. It's the first time ever that our food supply has been completely overrun with all of these chemicals. On top of that, now you have massive electromagnetic waves going through you all the time, from cell phones to Wi-Fi to satellites to radar. This never really happened before. And look how crazy, look at the chemical assault from vaccines, just wherever you want to point, we're under just a total assault as humans, in my opinion, morally. And that's why, to me, what always made the United States great, just through time, which we're going this way now. We're obviously going down, but we were the most moral country. And then, now we've gone up, and then, now we're going this way, but we were the most moral country out there. And that's what, besides our liberty and our Constitution, that was the other deciding factor, is how moral in the past, we actually were. Because we did. Yeah, there's a lot of bad things in the past, but we ended those things. Yeah. We ended all those things. We gave the rights. We ended, we spread equality. We spread entrepreneurism, a free society for everybody that's been co-opted now, but we were the most moral at one point.
We were. And I mean, Lisa says, I believe you. I lived near Agnew's mental hospital when the residents were released. I saw stuff. Why don't these U.S. hating people actually leave the U.S.? Could they possibly be intelligent enough to realize they have it really good here? I honestly don't know. I don't know.
They're here because this is the only place that could really do all that stuff. If they were in China, Cuba, Venezuela, North Korea, all these places that they seem to love, they'd all be toast. They'd be goners. They'd be taken out. Iran, Saudi Arabia. Think about these people talking and acting the way they do in the United States, being over in Saudi Arabia. You think they'd last over there?
So there's a person on Rumble who says there are folks that are fantastic at making things look one way and then going the other. I do, sadly, I think there's a lot of stuff. And I do think the assassination is boldened, but I do think it's a spiritual battle. And I feel like I feel like so many of these people are just demonically influenced. And I think people who believe that Jesus is standing next to them, but if they believe that Jesus is standing next to them and they don't believe that the devil's also standing on the other side, I think you're going to fall for stuff you shouldn't, because I'm constantly aware of that. I mean, there is a spiritual battle. I mean, we can all say in our heads, yeah, but we're standing here on terra firma and we're looking at him. Yeah, okay. But there are things that you can't see. And if you're not going to believe them because you can't see them, then I don't know how to help you. I mean, I don't know how to help you. Absolutely, Michael. Combine this with the hormones and chemicals in our food and the cells from aborted babies and vaccines, and you have many insane, violent, gender-confused people. And I do think that's true. And John Boy says when you remove God, this is what you get. It just is showing what can happen when you don't have some kind of divine influence in your life, because the only way humans are, we're all trash. I mean, we really are. I mean, people, the other problem with the left is not that they're a death cult, and I'm talking about the far left. I'm talking about the extreme left, these people who believe this way, because I don't want to umbrella people. People who believe this way, I believe that they're irreligious, number one. And so they don't have an ability to see, they don't see the good. They don't move toward the good. I think, I mean, I wrote an article on Substack the other day about how and I put it up on Facebook about how I felt about Charlie Kirk's death. And one of the things that I said was, the extreme left feels like there's no without Oh, I'm losing what I'm trying to say. I keep getting it and then it keeps going away. So I think what I'm going to do is say precisely my belief is 100% spiritual and something shifted this week, something bad. I do feel like that's the case as well. I feel like there was
Well,
just a shift.
and look at Jenny, look at the
Yeah.
look at the acceleration of that extreme left, the socio-economic craziness of how all this is real. I mean, really, you go back 20 years and someone that was LGBTQ, I mean, that was still pretty risque. And you
Yeah.
didn't have, you had a cross-dresser was like a crazy person, not just a cross-dresser. Think
Yeah.
of the mutilation at this point and how fast, literally in the last 10 years, that it has literally just gone into overdrive. But I blame that as, a multifaceted attack on humanity, not just spiritually, yes. And to your point, when you were talking about Christians, the thing that I came into contact the most, like when I was knocking doors, because it just kind of was a real reality to me. A lot of people, just because you're a good, sane, moral Christian person, a lot of times they can't really comprehend how evil things are.
Yes.
And that's like, and I rationalize that through the library books. Like a lot of these really good, grandmas out there, I'm showing them these books. They're your typical Sunday, Wednesday, good Christian. They can't even understand how that could be in a school classroom with a kid. Just because as a Christian, you can't comprehend what evil can actually do doesn't mean evil's not going to do it. And that's, I think, what we're seeing at an escalated pace, through technology, through the food and water system, just in the ethos of all of it, put together, we're seeing this escalation towards just, satanic death cult, in my opinion.
Well, and it's weird. I was just thinking when we moved from Oklahoma City, I mean, we were sick all the time when we were in Oklahoma City. I mean, we always had something. And we moved out here and we were rarely sick. I mean, rarely. We're still rarely sick. I mean, there's something that but we're not on city water.
Yeah.
I mean,
one, you're further away from all the concentration of
chemicals,
of Wi-Fi, cell phone towers, all of that stuff. You're out there a little bit, away from that.
Yeah.
I mean, all those things, I don't care what they say. If you eat today's regular food, you're going to have, there's chemicals in there that your body can't process.
Yeah.
Those chemicals get, put in your eyes, in your organs, all over the place.
Yeah.
Those chemicals are going to react to the electromagnetics that are, like a cell phone signal may not react to your physical organic tissue.
Yeah.
But this artificial sweetener is going to vibrate or, do whatever. It's going to be reactive to it. And to me, that's what I see is happening, is just a total attack.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. I do think it is just a complete attack. John says, I worked for an atheist once. They think totally differently. Shocking to say the least. They literally do. We need to start a wholesome library, no tax dollars allowed. So this is the NCRI website that I was telling you about. And I would it's called networkcontagion.us. And I told you what they did. So here's some of the things that they've done data on: starving for the truth, fraud, famine, and the collapse of rigor in IPC's Gaza declaration, between data and agenda, Western media's deceptive framing of Gaza's most vulnerable. They're talking about that, but there's also other things too. Democratic Socialists of America endorsed summit promoting DPRK aligned revolutionary rhetoric. How false flags and fake MAGA. What's the name of this one? How false flags and fake MAGA. How foreign and inauthentic networks use fake speech to destabilize the right.
Wow. Wow.
And it's a whole, I mean, it's a whole thing. I mean, they have a whole, article about it.
Yeah.
The asset agency model. Weren't you talking about that?
I'd have to read it.
Well, I mean, you were talking about the fact that the government gets involved in this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So narrative seeding and foreign entry, narrative seeding and foreign entry points, and they actually document this stuff over time. I mean, this is really interesting. This website was very interesting to me. Now, let's kind of wind up here because it's almost time to wind up anyway. And I want to show you something that my husband showed me this morning. And I have to say, this really changed. I mean, I've always been, pretty libertarian. I mean, you do you, just don't make me do you. Just don't tell me what you're doing is okay. Just don't tell my kids what you're doing is okay. But you do you. I don't care. I'm not going to walk around with a Bible thumping it going, that's you're saying. I'm not doing any of that. You do you. I just don't want it shoved in my face. So this morning, my husband said, you need to read Gateway Pundit. I don't usually read Gateway Pundit because they've screwed me over too many times. It's like I look at them as the, what is it? What's that magazine that's in the store? Begins
National
with an
Enquirer.
E. Yeah, I look at them as kind of the National Enquirer. I'm. They've got some good stuff, yes, but some of their stuff is like clickbait, and I'm like, I don't have time for clickbait. So he says, I want you to read this. Popular LGBT icon Jeffree Star shocks fans, blasts transgender movement in explosive rant, and pays tribute to Charlie Kirk after his assassination. So this is Jeffree Star. This is what Jeffree Star looks like. Jeffree Star has a TikTok channel that has 24 million viewers. Let that sink in a second. 24 million viewers. No, I was wrong. 37 million. I was low. I'm sorry. 37 million. It says Jeffree Star, a gay man who built a cosmetic empire on inclusivity and self-expression, is now calling out the transgender ideology for what it is, a dangerous denial of science. So this is actually what he wrote. I mean, they just transcribed what he said on his channel.
Yeah, I actually watched the video of him.
I have. Well, I'm going to play some of it because it's actually linked in here, and I want people to hear what he had to say because I think this was important.
He encouraged everyone to speak about their beliefs, whether he believed them or not. Lexi, I don't really care. Am I a Republican? No, I'm a person. Because I'm standing up for someone that passed away, I'm now being called names in the chat. This is what's wrong with a lot of you people. You will never get far in life. You are sick in the head. Someone just said they're unsubscribing from me. Thank God, please. Because if you believe in they and thems, you're part of the problem. If you're so stupid enough to go against science, please unfollow me. You can be whoever you want to be, but there's science and there's facts. You can pretend in your head you're a cat. You can pretend in your head that you're this and you're that. Good for you. You're still only A or B. And the truth hurts a lot of you, I see. I see a lot of you still can't get over it. Sounds like a personal problem. While I've been live streaming, someone was just, and TikTok has guidelines, you guys, so I have to censor what I'm saying. I'm uploading my video right now. I am. Even though we're dealing with all of this, I'm uploading my video right now. So yes, I am a grown-ass man that wears makeup. I will always be a male. My name is Jeffrey. Jeff, if you were my father, he's the only person allowed to call me that. My name is Jeffrey. I am a male that likes cosmetics. All these grown men going into women's bathrooms wearing wigs, you should all be in prison forever. You are the problem. So a grown man that goes around the country debating people, spitting facts, was just taken out. And I'm not over it. I can't sit here and play with makeup right now. I want to throw up. So no, I'm not a Republican. No, I'm not a Democrat. I'm Jeffree Star. Stop trying to label me. Stop trying to label me. I am a male. I am a makeup artist. I am a makeup mogul. I am a business owner. I am a farmer. I am a rancher. I am a son. I am someone's cousin. I am someone's friend. Stop labeling me. Y'all don't know anything about my beliefs. You just assume. Because I said I was thankful that Trump brought back TikTok, I'm now being accused of being a Republican. All I said months ago when TikTok was banned and my business could be affected tremendously, I said, wow, thank God Trump fixed it. Or I wouldn't be able to sell my cosmetics on this platform. I quit YouTube and dedicated my life to TikTok. And people are upset because I thanked our president? Politics aside, biology will never change. Why is that up for debate? Am I saying any of this? Because Charlie Kirk fought for the rights. He fought for the truth. He debated everybody, and you guys cannot argue that. You are delusional and you are mentally ill if you are trying to go against what I just said. I didn't say my opinion. I said a fact. I am Jeffrey Lynn Steininger Jr. That's who I am. I am born a male. Cannot believe I'm sitting here 6 hours away from a crime scene. Like, Utah is just right down there. He's just a couple hours away. And he was doing a debate at a college in front of thousands of people, and his daughter was there. And he was just taken out. I don't know how to process it right now. I'm like so sick. I'm honestly so sick by it. And I'm over here trying to like upload a video. I'm over here trying to upload a fucking video about Hailey Bieber. Who cares about her? Well, you guys do. Clearly, she had a #1 launch in Sephora. It's hard when these situations happen and you are an entertainer. It's hard. It's really hard because you just want to stop everything and just leave. Like, I came on here to play with makeup and review these fucking Louis Vuitton brushes, and right now, I don't want to.
Well, I have to say that was just that really changed a lot of the way I look at different things. I mean, and I kind of that shoved a lot of stuff in my face that I wasn't real happy about because I mean, my mom, everybody knows how much I love my mom. She would always say, you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't judge a book by its cover. You can't judge it. And I was brought up on that sentiment constantly. And that kind of really shoved stuff in my face, but it also made a real impression on me from this perspective. I loved when he said, stop labeling me. Stop labeling me. I'm a farmer. I'm a rancher. I'm somebody's son. I'm somebody's cousin. That's what scares me. I don't want to say scare. You're not going to scare me. I just want to say, I think that's the take. This is probably a better way to say it. I want my takeaway from this is we've got to stop allowing, and listen carefully, we have got to stop allowing the Marxist to turn us into victims, to turn us into little people who hate one another, who like to label one another, and the one thing about Charlie Kirk that was, because sometimes I didn't even agree with some of the stuff that he said. I was like, oh, Charlie, goodness. What the thing that was the best about him was that he didn't care what he was just going to debate you. He didn't care about anything about what you did, he wasn't there to talk dirt on you or tell you how you shouldn't be doing something. He was just going to debate you. That's where we have to be. This is where we have to be. Not, oh, I look at you and I see this. Not, oh, you said this and I'm labeling you as that. Not any of that. We're going to quit talking over each other. We're not going to do this anymore. And we're going to talk to each other. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to do it here. And I told you, we're starting a new podcast called Common Ground on Monday, where Christy Taylor, who writes a Substack called Gen Expletives, we're not on the same, we don't have the same opinions about things. She's she likes more government than I do. And we're going to talk some of these things out because and here's the problem. There are people that you can't talk things out with. There are. And my daughter and I just had a discussion about that this morning. There are people that you can't talk with. That's why Jesus himself said, when you go to a village, if they won't hear what you have to say, shake the dirt off your sandals and take off. Go to someplace else. That's why they say, don't cast your pearls before swine. There are some people who are not going to listen. It's true. We don't need to waste our time on those. However, there are a lot more people that are willing to listen. They're just not willing to listen to some rhetorical narrative where people are yelling at one another. And they're being called names. That's what we got to stop. Lots and lots and lots of comments here. There are actually several based LGBT influencers. I follow some of them like Blair White. Well done, Jeffrey. I have so much more in common with based members of the LGBT community that I do with rhinos and CNOs. Watch some Blair White to have your mind truly blown. Regardless, when you are as such, you have a problem with some kind of reality that is not make believe. And I mean, none of us agree with everything one person says. That should not be a requirement to be assassinated. Well, and obviously, I would hope that's kind of an obvious point for sure. But I personally am uncomfortable with men who like makeup, and that's not in my comfort zone. I mean, I'm not comfortable with that. Do they have the right to do it? Absolutely. Am I going to talk down about them? No. Why would I do that? It just is. It's okay for me not to be comfortable with it. That's not my comfort, zone, but it is for other people. That's fine. Fine. You do you. I don't know. I am not going to allow what happened Wednesday to affect me. It did yesterday horribly. I mean, yesterday I just couldn't get going. I couldn't make myself. I think, and David said this, and I think this is 100% true. It wasn't just that he was assassinated. I mean,
I'll be right back. Keep talking. I'll be right back.
Okay. It wasn't just that he was assassinated. I mean, that's obviously horrible. It was the fact that it was an individual private person, not an elected official. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying elected officials, I'm not saying that. I'm saying look in history. My gosh, Lincoln, JFK, Ronald Reagan. People fixate on these people and can be injurious to elected officials. You sadly almost kind of expect that, but you don't with an individual person who's just speaking their mind, and not only just speaking their mind, but not even talking down to people, just having a conversation with them. That's not in our lexicon of thought process. This really, I think, affected everybody so deeply because people realized how sick, how mentally ill so many in our society have become, that it's okay in some way, somehow, to do away with a person, just off them. it's the tragedy is unspeakable on so many fronts. Earl's daughter said, I was raised in a high-end cosmetology school where my mom was the instructor. I've grown up with all sorts and love all sorts, but none of them would celebrate an assassination. Amen. I'm personally less comfortable with misogynistic men who tell me to hush up and stop video, and I would have lost my mind. And there is that. I completely agree. I mean, I completely agree. But just, you know, we will go on. We will persevere. We will keep doing what we're doing. I will keep, you know, speaking the truth, and so will you. And that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of a good point. Let's not conflate mental illness with pure evil, because I do think there, as we said before, I do believe in evil. I do believe it will inhabit people if they let it. And I do believe there's mental illness, but I also do believe that there is mental illness that needs to be removed from society. This whole idea of allowing mentally ill people to tell a story, when they release these people from mental health facilities, just because they feel like they're going to do better in society doesn't mean they do, because they're mentally ill. It's like taking a toddler and releasing them into the world and going, get along, kiddo. You're a big girl now. You're 2. Go out there and do it. No 2-year-old can do that. Mentally ill people are incapable of doing that. So what do you have? So a friend of mine and her husband went to Nashville several years ago, and Nashville had a horrible, because it's a blue state and a blue city, horrible problem with homelessness. They were walking down the street. A man comes up with a brick and smashes my friend's husband, who is also my friend, in the face with the brick, broke his jaw in numerous places, broke his eye orbit. I mean, it was not a small thing at all. A man behind him who witnessed it happening chased after the man, who then turned around, pulled a gun from his pocket, and shot this guy dead on the sidewalk. That was a mentally ill, homeless person. So for us to say they're mentally ill, it's okay. I mean, they need to be on the street. No, they don't. Mentally ill people who are incapacitated for themselves and cannot care for themselves and cannot take their medication and will not take their medication for themselves need to be institutionalized. They do not need to be on the street. They must not be on the street. It's not good for them. It's not good for anybody else around them. But we make excuses, and we feel like we pat these people on their heads and tell them it's okay that you think you're a cat and you want to be a cat. And we pat them on the head and tell them it's okay. I'm with Jeffrey. That's mental illness. And if you really honestly believe that, you need to be institutionalized. You need to have severe mental health.
Yeah, but is it so much just pure, like I think mental illness, you know, really goes along the lines of real chemical endocrine issues, a lot of like actual physical, tangible imbalances in the body. But I mean, I think there's such a huge social construct now that these kids are just being completely indoctrinated. I mean, I would say it's almost more of a social deal more than just pure mental illness, in my opinion, Jenny.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I mean, you're talking about stuff like TSS Smith, where she talks about what her daughter went through, and the transgender movement and the LGBTQ stuff. I'm in agreement with you. What I'm talking about is mental illness, people who have some kind of psychoses, people who have, I mean, we lost an absolutely phenomenal labor commissioner who would have been a phenomenal governor because of his son who murdered him. And his son was not bipolar,
like manic depressive or something.
schizophrenic. No, he
Yeah.
was schizophrenic, and he needed to be in a facility to where somebody could make him take his medication, because the problem with legitimate mental illness like schizophrenia, these people might stay on their medication for a little bit, but then what ends up happening is they convince themselves they don't need to be on it, and even one missed dose causes the voices to come back in their head. And so there is legitimate mental illness that needs remediation, and these people need to be in facilities. And for them to be out on the street is another one of those Marxist radical ideals, because they know that those people are going to scare people in society and wreak havoc on it, when they need to be in a facility where they can be cared for.
Mm-hmm.
John says mental evil, and I kind of do agree with that. The society blames every single bad act or vile feeling on mental illness is my point. Sometimes it's just evil, and I think there's that. I'm not saying mental illness doesn't exist, but that man with the brick sounds possessed. It happens way more often than people believe, and it doesn't look like Exorcist, and I'm not disagreeing with you on that. How much of this is to gain attention? I do think there is a lot of that, especially, and we've had Dr. Mather on. Well, maybe we need to have, Bob come back on and talk about, what's going on with the transgender movement. Maybe I need to reach out to Bobby and have him come back on and talk about it, because some of this is a generalized psychosis that's created by internetworking with friends and social media. Yes. And the way to make that go away is to do what TSS Smith did and say, you get no outside influences at all. And then they straighten right back up. So absolutely. But there, again, you cannot overlook or put asunder the fact that there is real, genuine mental illness that does need to be remediated. Yes, tragic, like schizophrenia. I don't know. I'm not a cat. We'll have to look that up. Also, on a side note, GAPS diet resolved schizophrenia, but I'm sure gut brain isn't related. And yes, we are finding a lot about that there is a lot to that. Sandra, you're 100% right. And we do need to do that. Why do we assume mental illness is a demonic attack, but not cancer? I don't know that we do. I mean, who knows what can happen with evil.
Well, and on Saunders' point with the gut, with the gut brain, 2 points on that. Well, I can make several points, but go back, to the initial vaccine correlation that Andy from England, I can't think of his last name, he was the very first doctor that made the correlation that he wasn't saying the vaccines necessarily were completely doing it. He was talking about the problems in the gut not being able to protect the body fully, and then so that's all kind of, come 360. But, I use this all the time when I talk to these people about abortion all the time. This is going to kind of go into the same vein with the gut, Jenny. You're a biologist. Would you consider the microbiome of your body as being human?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I actually would.
Well, and I think that they've seen where, like, the microbiome, because the microbiome is 54% of your body. So, and they've shown in all these different studies where the microbiome and certain things can make your body crave and do other things, so it can literally overtake like an innate thought process, in one way or another. But I always, I always talk to a lot of these people that, they want to believe like they're so conscious and, all this stuff. I mean, like, to me, if half of my body is an organism that I don't have any control over, really, I mean, I can't control that consciously, like the microbiome could possibly control me.
Yeah.
then I kind of use that statistic when I talk to people about abortion, because, if more than half your body is something that you're not really in control of, is it fair for you just to want to kill something else that's in your body, that you're not in control of that either? Yeah. As you're just a host, you're a host for the microbiome. You're also just the host for a baby. When you're not even the majority, your conscious brain of who you think you are, you're not even the majority of your own body. And, when it comes to all that microbiome stuff, I mean, I think that is 100% where the attack is, through all of the food, all the stuff, everything.
Yes,
and
I agree.
I guarantee you at some point, they're even going to find out that cancer and all this stuff is originated by not having the correct microbiome, however they want to come and say it. But I think it's all going to be related in one way or another to that in just somehow, some way.
Yeah,
That's what they don't want to tell us, is you correctly put the correct inputs into your body will operate and think, correctly at the same time. So when you have this massive chemical assault, your body, you can't, and I'm not making excuses for all these crazy wackos out there, but in the same vein, they can't rationalize thought the way that you and I do, because their body may be actually combating all the consciousness or their little, their little voice inside that says maybe you shouldn't do this or, do that. It may actually be like, fighting that, turning that off in one way or another.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I definitely agree with that. And then Sandra makes another point. And many of the pharmaceutical drugs that they have individuals on are also linked to suicides and violence. You look at, and this is a really good example. You look at people who have anxiety. Well, let's look at people who can't sleep. And they give them some of these sleep medications that cause them to have suicidal ideation and that cause them to do things that they shouldn't do and get up and wander around the house. I really do believe that so many pharmaceuticals are just horrifying, and people don't realize we have parasites. And I mean, those of us who live on farms fairly regularly and know that they're out there. COVID's wiping out certain strains of good bacteria in the gut. That's right. I totally forgot about that. There are warnings on the labels of many antidepressants. That's exactly right. And anti-anxiety drugs. Don't take this if you have suicidal ideation. And that's true too. Most side effects of drugs are worse than what they are actually billed to help. So, I mean, we were talking, my dad's 91, went to dinner with him last night. And basically the only thing that you could say about my dad is that he doesn't walk as well anymore and he has trouble hearing. Otherwise, he's 45. You'd never know.
Wow.
The guy, I'm
Good for
serious.
him.
The guy doesn't even look like he's 91. People are like, that's your dad? He's 91. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. His mom had the same thing. It's like you would never have known my grandma was 99 when she died, unless somebody told you that. I mean, they just have this weird genetic thing. But we were talking about that last night. The lady that he's been friends with for many, many years is very, very sick now and in the hospital, but she's on, now listen, 19 different prescriptions. Part of the reason I think my dad's 91 and you'd never know is because he's on one prescription and he couldn't help that. So, and there's not a lot of way to fix what he has to take the prescription for. So, but it's 1 versus 19 and she's, very, very sick. And so, I mean, till people start taking control of their health, until people start taking control of their kids, until people start taking control of their government, until people start
Take responsibility.
taking responsibility, we have a big fat soup of crap.
Yeah. And it was Dr. Wakefield and Dr. Andrew Wakefield,
Wakefield.
who he didn't even say vaccines are bad. He just said the combination of these vaccines plus this deteriorated, element within the gut is causing these conditions to come, and he was demonized. And I think he's actually, been vindicated pretty much 100%.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. With what we know now, absolutely 100%. All right. Well, we probably done it all for today, and we're a little over 2 hours. So, Jenny, my daughter's sending me text from her work. Charlie Kirk's death is galvanizing young people to be more bold in ways nothing else could.
Yeah, I hope
Tons
so.
of screenshots of young adults being more courageous now. That did kind of stick in me. Almost had a moment there. Yeah, I'm 100% believer in God and Jesus Christ, and I do believe that things happen for a reason. And I don't like the idea that we lose some people to get something else to happen, but it tends to be the way it works. So I'm very grateful that this has really awakened, a segment of people to pay attention to what's going on, because this is when some young man with a young family can have his head basically removed from his shoulders by somebody while he's just talking common sense to other people. It's bad. It's bad. And the only way that it's going to get better is through us. That's it. Well, it's Jesus. Don't get me wrong. It's Jesus. But I'm saying we're his hands and feet here. And if we can't stand up and do something while we're here, then it's not going to be any better. And if you don't feel like you can run for an office, if you're homebound, you can't go to the Capitol, you can pray. I mean, do you pray for people? I mean, we can be doing that too. That's a wonderful thing. It's a great tool. Use that. If you don't feel like you can contribute, do that. Sandra says yes, and injecting children with DNA of animals, and then they wonder why they're cats. Well, there could be something to that. So. And I do appreciate, Lisa, what you said. I because I do agree, and I think we all need to be more courageous now. We all need to be more courageous, and that would be, I think, what Charlie would want to have happen from his untimely death. So we need to remember that. Michael, are you gonna have a great weekend?
Yeah, I got to finish. I'm almost done painting my car. I got to finish.
Oh.
Couple little deals.
You're gonna have to provide pictures,
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
I'm gonna want to see him. I did not get the roll up today. I swear I'm gonna have it done before Monday. This is what I'm working on this weekend is this. So we don't forget it has gone live. I have worked out all the kinks. You can now actually go to the website and sign up for tickets. You can do it right here on the 2025 convention tab. You have to go down a way, but you can sign up for tickets for the first annual Liberty Oklahoma Conference at Okana. And we will have that on November 13th through the 15th. There's a conference schedule, a speakers list, and here's your place to register right here. And all you have to do is click these buttons and it'll take you right to it. So I hope you do that for me this weekend. And that's what I'm going to be working on, is all kinds of advertising materials for that. So stay tuned. Lisa says, Charlie knew we were worth reaching, and we won't forget that. They underestimated us. My daughter. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's wonderful. All right. Thank you guys for watching today. I hope you have an absolutely phenomenal weekend, and we will see you again on Wednesday we're almost finished with booking September. We will be on with, well, that didn't work. We're in September. Hold on. It will come. There it is. We will have Carmen Greider on Wednesday, but we're going to have her recorded because she's not able to be with us at 9:00 on Wednesday morning. So we're going to have to record with her, but we will do that and we will play it with you so that we can all be together on Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. So be here for that and we will see you then. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.